knee-jerk contrarianism, and a consistent impulse to defend the indefensible, including copyright infringement, terrorism, and extreme. This is so cringe. Stick to the fucking case, guys. This is so cringe. Denims is one of the most loyal and ardent defenders of Hassan Piker, the most prominent alt-left streamer on Twitch. Much like Scientologists engage in fair game. You cited Wikipedia for fair game definition? Why do you need to do this simile? This is shocking. Denims ruthlessly attack.
Again, because the document wasn't meant to be read by a lawyer, it's meant to be read by the internet. That's what he prepared the document for. He prepared the document for the internet, for the pleasure of viewers. And this is like, it's not a controversial opinion. There's a reason to do that, and there's a reason to not do that, right? Like, I think it makes sense why you might want your document. Let me make this a little bit smaller. It doesn't need to be so big. There might be reasons why you would make your document be better perceived by the court of public opinion, right? And that's if you think people will settle. Unfortunately, these are the real documents that are going to get filed, and unfortunately, they actually have to be viewed. But hey, I mean,
attacks with reckless abandon anyone who disagrees with her or Hassan. She parrots Hassan's style, rhetoric, and content strategy. You should strike these. This is so. None of this is factually relevant. As such, she has assumed a leading role in Hassan's quote waiting room, a collective of streamers who cultishly follow Hassan and parasitically leech off of his audience by streaming before and after him. Denims read Osama bin Laden's letter to America. She frequently expressed. What does that have to do with infringement of your content, Nuke video? All of this shit should be stricken. This is getting to the point, I think, of being.
When I said that there's a big reason why it was written this way, and the big reason is he wants a settlement. He wants this to be fun, easy, and short. That's why there's a clip of him saying, no shot this goes to court. Like, no way. Just, they'll be begging for a settlement. Because half of the stuff that's in here, he just wants to drain lawyer fees because lawyers have to go in and then they have to like ask, hey, can we show you that this is not relevant? Can we remove this? Can we strike this? Et cetera, et cetera. It's just a goal for us to waste as much money as possible so that our lawyers have to spend hours sitting here reading this and being like, this is not relevant. This is not relevant. This is not relevant. Will Ethan be able to do this as much as he wants to, as many people, as long as he has money? It's pretty depressing. Not necessarily, but, you know, obviously we'll see how it plays out in court, but not necessarily. Okay.
Being like, I don't know if it's sanctionable. Probably not, but insane. Balenciaga, BDSM. This is so bad of a filing. Imagine you're reading this and you have no idea who the fuck these people are. You're just like, isn't this an infringement case? This is such a shitty filing so far.
Again, because it's not there's a reason that a lot of lawyers that have read this have been confused by the number of things that are in here that don't make any sense to be in here. Like so many of the things in here are written, like, again, like someone who is upset that these people don't like them, right? I think once you look at the filing in the eyes of someone who, or from the perspective of someone who's upset that they didn't get their content nuke glazed, I think the document makes more sense. It's, can you believe how terrible these people are? They're so awful. Here's all this awful shit that they did, and they didn't even react hard enough, and they didn't address my points, and they didn't even care about any of the shit that I said. Did your lawyer laugh while reading it? No comment. I plead the fifth. All right. Anyways. So, shall we read some segments that I thought were particularly funny? I'll try to do my best to go in order on the funniest things in this document. But as it was mentioned by that other lawyer, there's a lot of stuff in here, again, that's not relevant to the filing. And then there's stuff that's like questionably relevant to the filing. So, for example, registering the nuke. Well, actually, we should go further up. We should go in order as best as we can. So the document starts, right, with this image and these quotes, one of which is a quote of like me reading a chat message, which we'll see how that plays out in court. And this, which again, I don't want to comment on it. I want to let my lawyers comment on it in court. But it continues. It talks about this is relevant. Lawsuits about ending the practice of lazy reaction videos. The one problem again is like it's very partial because, you know, yeah, obviously. We continue. It reads that the moderators heavily promoted Denims' group viewing session, which there's a strong attempt to try and link some conspiracy, but unfortunately, the conspiracy is non-existent because I did not collaborate with the moderators. Okay. 1 second. There we go. And then talks about my commentary, talks about the poverty of my commentary, despite the fact that, again, my reaction was 2 times 2x, or sorry, 2.28x as long. The original content nuke is like 2 hours long. My react was like 3 hours and 52 minutes. So unfortunately, there is not a poverty there. Then we continue. It talks about, it actually cites a case. Okay, continuing. Parties. It brings up the parties. All right. And then, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. None of this stuff is relevant to what I want to talk about. Some of this stuff might be relevant. This is funny. Denims LARPs, live action role play, as a revolutionary from the comfort of her bedroom in California. I don't know what judge is supposed to take this seriously. I feel like when you read this, your immediate and first thought should be, how is this relevant? How is this relevant to the case? Prolific purveyor of misinformation, speaks with great confidence on topics where her knowledge leaves much to be desired. I like how he's describing his content nuke where he talks about certain things and he's completely wrong about them. All right. I hope the judge has fun. I do. I just, my problem is that I do have respect for the law and I do respect lawyers and judges and all of that stuff. And so I feel bad even being part of a lawsuit where I know one of the parties is wasting the judge's time by making them have to sit down and read so many of these irrelevant comments, right? It's true. I saw Denims dressed up as Che Guevara the other day. That's actually true. I would give anything to be a fly on the wall in your lawyer's office. Yeah, okay. I like this. Repeatedly inserts herself into public controversies by employing poor judgment. How is employing poor judgment relevant to inserting myself into public controversies? Also, it's weird to even bring that up in this case because, again, there are clips of me in that. And this is after Ethan got me and Frogan and everybody else on that panel banned for 30 days. So I don't know, like, what universe this wouldn't be relevant for us, right? Okay, and then continuing, this is like, including copyright infringement, terrorism, and extremism. Like, I don't know what universe where, like, this doesn't immediately get called out for being irrelevant, right? One of the most loyal, ardent defenders of Hassan Piker. Ruthlessly attacks with reckless abandon anyone who disagrees with her or Hassan. She parrots Hassan's style, rhetoric, and content strategy, regularly streaming React content with minimal transformation and commentary. It's so bizarre also to read this when, like, Ethan Klein's claim to fame was React content and winning winning a case on React content. As such, she has assumed a leading role in Hassan's waiting room. How is this not completely irrelevant? How will this not be seen as, like, immediately just like attempts to smear or attempts to discount the defendant. A collective of streamers who cultishly follow Hassan. Again, once you view this from the perspective of Ethan, where he is trying to upload a document, obviously, in my opinion, trying to upload a document where the internet will read it and he's hoping will settle. I don't think he wants. If this was mine, I wouldn't want a judge to read this. If this was my filing, this is what my lawyer approved of, I would not be happy with it. I would actually be pretty frustrated with this. Okay, and then continuing, then the Bin Laden stream, and then I love this as well. Where does it say it? Despite Twitch's prohibition on terrorist propaganda, gave Denims a slap on the wrist by banning her for just a day. There's nowhere in the Twitch TOS that says that we'll ban you for a certain amount of time for X, Y, or Z. Time has always been pretty like, they just go by feels, right? Okay, and then we bring up the Balenciaga thing, which I always thought this thing was unbelievably stupid. In a now deleted video, she responds to a Shoe on Head video critiquing Balenciaga's advertising campaign that depicted minors in sexualized BDSM attire, which is not what happened. And also, again, not relevant. Attempted to paint Shoe on Head as homophobic. Nope, that's not what I did. This is also just like these are also just like falsehoods. These are just falsehoods. Like I don't. This is a copyright case, by the way. And then involvement in ReactGate provides insight. So like this might be relevant, except for the fact that ReactGate was about the morality of reacting, not the legality of reacting. All right. Continuing. Let's see here. Then there's like the JXE stuff. Okay. Which this is not relevant to me because this is just talking about Hassan. So all of this is not relevant. Defended the unauthorized use of copyrighted content by asserting her viewers prefer watching streams over original uploads. Disagree. That's not what I said. None of this is what I said. This is totally incorrect. Denims claimed a streamer's personality alone can justify the unauthorized use of copyrighted material. Not only is this not relevant because it doesn't matter what I say, right? On what is legal and what is not legal. Obviously, it's not going to change the law, but it's also not what I said. I'm describing why things happen. You can say that like violent crimes occur because people's material conditions are not met. It doesn't mean you're suddenly pro like armed robbery. You're describing why these things happen and how we got to the environment we got to where this is happening, right? If you say, hey, if you provide people with housing, you provide people with basic income, you provide people with healthcare, with food, with water, all of the necessities, you meet their hierarchy of needs, you meet the very basics, people will be less likely to be engaged in a lot of different types of criminal acts because they don't feel like they have to turn to crime to be able to pay their bills. That's not saying it's okay to do that. That's not what that's saying. That's saying this is why this happens. This is why this will continue to happen, right? And that's what I was describing there. I'm saying the people who are watching like Hell's Kitchen or whatever, or what was it that XQC was watching, MasterChef or something? The people that are watching that on Twitch, realistically, most of those people would not have went out of their way to go watch it, but partially because the content isn't evergreen the way that other content is evergreen. The MasterChef meta was around for a while and no one was getting DMCA'd or striked, so it kept going. Because obviously if the copyright holders seemingly aren't aware or don't care, people are going to keep doing it. That's not saying suddenly that's legal. That's saying this is why it's happening. Those are very different statements, right? Is going through the document and speaking without a lawyer really a good idea? Considering that I spoke to my lawyer about it, yeah, I think actually that's a good idea. All right. And then we continue this debate, blah, blah, blah. And then it's so bizarre. Again, even this conversation, this debate that I had, I'm not saying anything about legality. I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm saying it as a creator, when you upload a video on YouTube, it feels worse to see someone's react. Like, sorry, let me be very clear. As a YouTube creator, if you upload a video and you see Asmongold re-uploads your video with his face on it with no added time or very little added time, that feels bad. Nothing to do with legality. That feels bad. Seeing a bunch of viewers go watch or react to your view or to your video and not your video, that feels bad. If you saw a video that got 50 views and it was a reaction video, that doesn't feel bad, which is what I said right here, because it has nothing to do with legality. Doesn't, in the conversation about Reactgate wasn't about legality. It was about morality. It was about how something feels, right? Something can be illegal and be unethical. Something can be illegal and ethical. Something can be, ethical and illegal. What's the third one? You guys get what I mean. Okay. It was about optics and ethics, correct. But they're trying to reframe it and pretend like it was about anything else. But all right. Also, 2 more tomatoes. I saw we reached 23K. God damn.
Just go on vacation. I'm sure this lawsuit thing will blow over. I like both you and Ethan. I hope one day you guys will be friends again.
Oh, tomatoes. Hell no. All right. Also, we were never friends to be friends again, right? I don't know. I think if someone threatens you or like files a lawsuit against you, I think you're allowed to prepare a case against that. I'm pretty sure that was probably satire. I'm just going to hope it was also satire. All right. Blah, blah, blah. This is the entirety of this conversation, which again, all of this conversation, it's a question on whether or not this will be, I don't want to say admissible in court because I'm not sure if that's the correct verbiage, but relevant because again, this is about morality. Not about legality. It's also, when it comes to most cases, unless you're directly proving intent with a message, which most of these have nothing to do with proving intent. Like this statement, if someone watches content on someone else's stream, there's a low likelihood that they're going to watch it separately and give you the view or the like, which they're misrepresenting this video, or sorry, this quote to mean something else. What it means is if you're a Twitch viewer and you're watching something on Twitch, there's a good chance, not always, not all the time, not completely relevant, not every single instance, but you're probably not someone who immediately will go and find some of these videos. I mean, on YouTube. How many creators have you found because of Twitch? How many YouTube creators have you found because of Twitch? Because I can tell you at least 20 in the past year I have found from Twitch, from watching Twitch streams. So you can't find, if you primarily go to Twitch, you're probably going to primarily find your creators there, and you probably weren't going to find that video on YouTube because you don't spend that much time on YouTube. Has nothing to do with legality. It doesn't matter whether or not the, no, rephrase. Regardless of fair use, we're talking about morality and we're talking about finding creators on YouTube. All right. And then continuing, let's see. Then I don't know why this is here. I don't know. I don't know why this is here. Background of H3 Snark. And then there's an entire section about Snark. And none of I can't imagine that any of this is relevant. H3 Snark is part of a genre of message boards known as subreddits on the website, Reddit. Snark subreddits consist of fallen fans of a particular entertainer. Many were banned by Reddit for violating its content policies, such as frenemies and frenemies 2. And also didn't Ethan say that they had didn't Ethan say that they had their own Snark subreddit that got banned? But anywho, talks about this, talks about Trisha Paytas, talks about all these other things. This is also beginning in the fall of 2023. H3 Snark experienced a surge of new users who were fallen fans of the TEI series Leftovers. As mentioned, it was co-hosted by Ethan and Hassan, who is the most prominent alt-left streamer on the website Twitch. On September 14th, Ethan and Hassan debated various issues concerning China and Taiwan, such as whether Taiwan should be independent, the propriety of China's subjugation of Tibet, and the genocide of Uyghurs. Due to Ethan's pushback on Hassan's pro-China position, several Leftover fans who had an oh my god! And then this. Do you see what I mean when I say that a lawyer got paid to write this? Do you see what I mean when I say that I think it's plausible that this is written by Ethan? What the fuck does your debate with Hassan on Leftovers about China and Taiwan have to do with fair use? With my fair use. It's common for legal documents to contain a lot of background information, but this has nothing to do. Like, I mean, the entire section, I disagree that anything about H3 Snark has anything to do with my lawsuit. I just disagree. It's not relevant because there is no collusion between me and H3 Snark. I'm not sending hundreds of messages telling them, hey, make sure you promote this stream. Hey, make sure you do this or whatever, right? Like, I was not engaged in behavior like this. I did H3 Snark, apparently. So anyways, moving on. Continuing. And then we talk about two-state solution, and then we talk about the wake of October 7th, Hassan emerged. Like, even if H3 Snark was relevant also, let's say there's all of this collusion that he cares about, right? This doesn't have anything to do with H3 Snark. All you need to say is that it's part of a subreddit. It's a H3 Snark or Leftovers H3 is a Snark subreddit. This is what Snark subreddits do. Here's other things that Snark subreddits have done. And I believe that since the falling out between us, blah, 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 they became very anti-me, and that's why they post my clips. And that's it. Like, none, all this other stuff is excessive. And then this was crazy. Comparing El Husseini to Hassan and then put this in. All right. Continuing, rampant copyright infringement on H3 Snark. And it's like, this is a lawsuit against me. This is not a lawsuit against H3 Snark, right? I get what his stated goal, I think at one point, was that he wants to subpoena the H3 Snark people so he can get all their information. But we'll just continue. We'll just continue reading so we can get through it. All right. This is about the H3 Snark team. This is not relevant at all to whether or not I committed copyright infringement or whether or not he believes that I did. This is just, again, attempting to involve H3 Snark so that he can, I'm pretty sure he said it himself that he wants to subpoena them. Okay. And then more about H3 Snark. And then finally, we get to issues takedown notices for infringing posts and comments on H3 Snark. All right, continuing. All right, okay. I'm going to skip over a lot of the H3 Snark stuff because, again, it's just not relevant to whether or not I'm committing copyright infringement. It's just not. It's not. All right. There was one thing in here that I think was kind of funny. Also, one of the major problems, by the way, with bringing up H3 Snark is the letters that Rom was sending to H3 Snark members, where he was like threatening that the mods of H3 Snark, their workplace would know that they were involved in criminal proceedings and all this other stuff. Like, getting that involved can't be good. Like, if my defense is going to be one of a few possible defenses, like, this is frivolous, this is vexatious, and this is coming from someone who says that they want to financially destroy me and that they're just so excited to subpoena me and that they are being litigious, unfairly litigious. Bringing H3 Snark in can have a detrimental effect when there are emails from H3 Snark mods getting
the
bordering.
If you and Ethan were in the Big Brother house 2 years ago, you would be friends. That's just a fact. You both got personality. Sad how people become divided like this. Hope one day things will change. Go on Bakei and leave all this alone for a while.
You know, you can't leave a lawsuit alone, right?
H3 shard.
Okay. All right. What was I talking about? Oh my God, another 100. Thank you guys so much for the donos, by the way. I need to drink some tea to mentally prepare myself for this. Sorry, like I was saying, if my goal is to say that like the lawsuit is frivolous or whatever, and this is someone who's doing this more because they want to financially destroy me,
Snark Reddit would kill a 1800s judge,
or they want to hurt me in some way, or whatever was the quote that he said. I believe he says like, I want to ruin her financially, of course. And then there's like emails from H3 Snark mods showing like Rom basically saying, by the way, if you ignore this, you could have this criminal record forever on your file, on your record. And anytime an employer looks up your name, they'll be able to see this. By the way, it's like, I don't know that getting H3 Snark involved is a great idea, but I think his primary goal is to try and, again, win public favor with this document. On your permanent record. Yeah. All right. And then this was pretty funny. I think it's over. Was the page earlier than this? Also, I love this. Hassan in his so-called waiting room. You can't say so-called if you're the one that's actively using the term as often as you can. That'd be like saying, yeah, my nickname is Big D. So-called Big D. That's just what I go by. It's like, no, you just made that up. What? What? Okay. Where is it? Oh, this was funny. This was funny. The same day, TEI explained to Reddit that this was false because the takedown explicitly stated it was directed at the comment by Doe number 3. And then it puts their username, contained a YouTube link, including providing a screenshot for the comment. To date, Reddit has not responded. Why does nobody care? Why does nobody care? Oh God, dude. Okay. Let's skip ahead past the H3 stuff because again, it's not relevant. Okay, and then he describes what the nuke is. What is YouTube? I think he describes it earlier as like some system, he explains what it is earlier, but I don't remember. I wasn't
Stupid, sexy Hassan DNM rage.
It's a way to watch YouTube videos without giving the creators ad rev clicks or views. Yes. It's not a misspelling of YouTube. It's so I guess some service to not have to watch things on YouTube. But I didn't even know it existed until this document. All right. The Nuke is a tragicomic documentary. Critiquing Hassan on Twitch. It contains of original footage, highly edited montages. Maybe this is grammatically correct, but it's so mouthy. Sorry, it contains original footage, highly edited montages, parodic skits, archival materials, a great deal of which are owned by TEI. Oh my God, dude. The Nuke can be divided into 7 sections: prologue, Twitch parody sketch, Houthi section, Hezbollah section, Hamas section, Twitch section, and the conclusion. And then he describes all of the different sections. King, thank you for the gift sub, by the way. Also, I just saw, was that 1 or 2 tomatoes? I was 2. Okay. I'm going to turn into a tomato. All right. I'll try and get farther away from the mic because I just realized some of that is probably ASMR unasked for. All right. Continuing. He describes what all the things are. The prologue walks the audience through the Ethan's thesis of the Nuke, that Hassan radicalizes his audience with genocidal and anti-Semitic terrorist propaganda. While admitting both of himself and Hassan are polarizing figures with controversial take, Ethan explains he grew concerned with Hassan's rhetoric after hearing him excuse Russian and Chinese genocide and imperialism, namely Hassan's positions on Crimea, Tibet, Taiwan, and the Uyghurs. And like the saddest part about this is like, Bada Banada has a whole video explaining all of these things and describing that half the shit that's in. I mean, he did a full breakdown of the content nuke. And even if we watch the content nuke, if we were to watch the parts of the content nuke right now, you'll see the section of with Crimea. He uses the same strategy that lazy creators, but more importantly, right-wing lazy creators use, where they'll point at something that they know you're supposed to feel strongly about, and then they assume that you already understand or don't care. So Russia and Crimea are a good example, right? Where most Americans don't know anything about Crimea. Most Americans can't argue anything about Crimea. They just know that Russia is bad. Same thing with China, Red Scare propaganda. And none of these people actually care about these things. They care about disparaging these nations that they feel are inferior to them. That's why you can talk about anything good happening in America without having to every time bring up all the bad stuff in America. Whereas with China, if you ever want to say anything positive about China's transportation system, about their infrastructure, about their education system, about any of the various policies that they put in place over the past 2 decades, you have to bring up Uyghur genocide, Uyghur war crime, Uyghur China, Tiananmen Square, China, Tibet, Crimea. Well, not Crimea. You have to bring up every single bad thing that's ever happened, because you can never praise China for any good policy without bringing up everything bad that's ever happened ever. But you don't ever have to do that with the U.S. If the U.S. has a good policy, you can just talk about the policy. And so when he talks about Crimea, he just says, like, can you believe that, like, he says that, like, the people of Crimea maybe wanted to join Russia, but he hasn't done any of the research on this, because when you actually start doing the research on this, it's all fucking terribly obfuscated, and it's hard to say how much Russian interference existed prior to the initial votes joining Russia, and how many exist, how much, because last time I checked, the people majority voted for joining Russia. Because you have access to a higher GDP, you might have access to a higher quality of living compared to just being Crimea on your own. But then it's also hard to say, because it's like, well, was that majority percentage that later changed to a super majority percentage, was that also influenced by Russia? But we don't have any sourcing on that. We don't have any good information on that. And then you actually start to do some of this research and you're like, oh, this is actually really complicated and convoluted. And there's like basically no neutral sources on the topic. And it's impossible to find this information on the topic. But he doesn't care. He just brings up that Hassan said something positive about Russia and then says, can you believe this? And then he moves on. And that's it. So continuing, he just goes on and on talking about the content nuke, describing the parody, describing the Houthi section, describing the Hezbollah section, describing the Hamas section. And the other problem as well is that so much of this is also, besides being irrelevant to a document about, if I was defending that I needed to talk about all these sections or that I needed to watch all of this, it might make sense that I would be putting all this in and saying, well, he talked about this, so of course I was going to be interested in trying to debunk this. Well, he talked about this, so much of this I need to include. But this is his document describing it. I don't know that it's necessary for him to be able, or for him to list off every section and to describe everything that happened in the document. This feels more like he wanted the content nuke to do better, and he's upset that it didn't do better. So now he's rehashing it in a lawsuit so people have to read it. Because he's like, but why does nobody care? Fine, I'll make people care by putting this into a lawsuit. Okay, so this part is pretty funny. Okay, yeah, this is what I was looking for. The Twitch section. Now this stuff, some of this stuff is relevant to me because I showed up in the lawsuit. Ethan begins critiquing Twitch's chief executive officer, Dan Clancy. He points to Clancy's ineffectiveness as a CEO, namely rolling back his initiative to change revenue splits and the size of sponsor logos on stream, along with laying off significant portions of Twitch staff. Clancy explicitly states he's a fan of Hassan and is aware of his rhetoric. Clancy even sang Hassan happy birthday and forced Dan Clancy personally forced Twitch's employees to sing along while being filmed. Ethan also discusses the creepiness of Clancy's penchant for e-girls, i.e. young female Twitch streamers whose streams are about highlighting their physical assets. Why is e-girl being defined in a lawsuit? No, dude. Oh my God. By pointing to two examples of Clancy's stories featured on the Twitch app being completely populated by e-girls. And then he talks about Frogan, and then he talks about I don't know why, again, I understand that he's putting it in there because he's like, well, I need to explain everything that happened in this, but I'm not sure that this is necessary for this document. All right. Then talks about Frogan's comments on veterans. Then talks about Twitch should sanction Frogan. Also, like, Twitch did not give her awards. That was like a streamer event. Huh? Most notably, Ethan lambasted Twitch for allowing Frogan to host a panel at TwitchCon 2024. A panel involved a racial tier list, which this is like, I'm very curious to see if this gets talked about in court. Because all of this, by the way, every single bit of this is unbelievably bad faith. And I think that it's hard to say, but if we could argue maybe that like a reasonable person, what would a reasonable person think when you say Sabra? Like if someone said someone loves Sabra, what is your first idea. And I think if a reasonable person would believe that that was about hummus, I think most of this is just going to be like thrown out because it's obscene. All right. Continuing. And then we keep going on. Oh yeah, this part. Wait. Did I wait, I almost missed it. Hold up, sorry. Wait, no. No. Okay, I think I passed it already. Okay, continuing. Then he goes on to describe the Twitch section. Then he describes the conclusion of the statement. It claims that I've made death threats, which is not true. All right, continuing. A true and correct copy of the of the deposit copy is located on flash drive as Exhibit F. Oh God! And then he talks about H3 Snark promotes Denims as a substitute to watching the Nuke. I'm not responsible for what people on Reddit do. I'm not. I'm not responsible. Not even a Denims watcher. That's the stuff that's making me laugh the most. Like what he's doing is everything we all hate about him. It's hilarious. I mean, I just don't understand. There's so many parts of this that I don't understand. Sorry, not that I don't understand, because I do understand them, but I think that they're so obscene that I'm surprised that he would pursue it. So like only filing lawsuits against women. It's like, dude, optically, he has to be aware that that looks fucking terrible. And he absolutely is obtaining a misogynistic incel audience, right? I mean, there's a reason my mentions, even this chat, is filled with people calling me a bitch, a cunt, a whore, slut, whatever. He's obtaining a very particular audience. And then also, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I want to keep going. All right? I want to keep going. I'm not responsible for what people on the H3 subreddit do. I'm not. I'm not responsible for that that post that said, hey, everybody, if you don't want to watch this video, you can go there. I'm not responsible for that because I didn't make that post and I didn't engage in helping make that post. That was done by someone else. I'm not responsible for other people's actions. All right. Continuing. Yes, this is just talking about promoting. All right, finally. The law of fair use and reaction videos. Fair use is codified, Section 107 of Copyright Act. Statute sets forth 4 non-exclusive factors courts consider to evaluate fair use, purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for nonprofit educational purposes. He lists the other 3 reasons. This is all actually relevant. God bless. Finally, information that's relevant to the actual case. Although I don't know that you are supposed to reiterate what the law says, but maybe you are. I don't know. Okay. Continuing. Talks about fair use factor, talks about transformative. Again, talks about all these things. These are things that I am actually excited to litigate in court because that's actually where they're supposed to be litigated. So I'm going to avoid talking about the details of my case, since this makes sense to actually, again, litigate in court. Like I said, I'm doing this mostly to highlight all the things that don't make sense and that shouldn't be in here. So this all, we will litigate it with judges and with lawyers. Okay, continuing. Now we get to the quote, Denims group viewing session failed to make fair use of the countdown episode. This is also relevant, but there are a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun things in here. All right, let me see if I can find one sec. No, not this. Yes. All right. Okay. He talks about the group viewing session. In total, Denims's group viewing session of the countdown episode was 1 hour and 3 minutes. And then he describes the number of times that I've spoken. 2 minutes and 12 seconds of unrelated or unintelligible comments. Your Honor, I didn't understand what you said, which means that what she said didn't make sense. All right. In simple terms, out of a total routine runtime. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Again, a lot of the stuff that is relevant, I'd like to save it for my lawyers. Okay, I'm paying them for a reason. They can handle this section. Okay. Where is it? Okay. This is the stuff that's actually relevant. Finally. We only had to get through 40 pages. All right. Okay, and then he shows my Twitch tracker. Thank you. I guess. I don't all right. Okay. Puts the quotes that he listed earlier. Okay. Denim's attempt to feign ignorance of the H3 Snark is transparently and comically false. Rather, it is clear that Denims and H3 Snark mods coordinated their efforts. And the reason why is because I've watched H3 Snark clips on my stream. Because people will post in chat, have you seen this, Denims? And then they'll post like an H3 Snark clip. And I'll watch it and I'll be like,
stupid, sexy Denims, DNMO.
I'll watch it and I'll be like, that's crazy that happened. Okay, continuing. I do. So Denims also apparently works with live stream fails. This is true. He's alleging a conspiracy here. I mean, this is like obscene. Does this also mean that since Ethan Klein has watched clips and watched and clicked on posts from the Destiny subreddit that he is coordinating efforts with them? Of course not. That would be ridiculous. You wouldn't allege that in a lawsuit. All right. Continuing. This is schizo posting. No.
My
this is
GPT can't do shit.
I will die on the hill that this is someone who is very upset that people didn't love his nuke and didn't love his video. And so he's doing all of this to show everybody how amazing his nuke actually is. He's taking his nuke to a court of law to show people that his nuke was amazing. And it doesn't matter if you guys didn't like it. It was really amazing. This is like the director and the writer of Metropolis being like, no, it's really good, guys. I swear. It's really good.
DNM love.
Also, guys, I just saw we got, was it 3 more tomatoes? No. Megalopolis, sorry. Oh, God. That one was really bad. That one was really... All right. Continuing. I think it's Tums times, guys. Oh, man, one more tomato. Okay, we get a tiny one. Food tolerant, I just saw your fucking message. My chat GPT can't do shit. Okay. Now, continuing. Denims begins her group viewing session, blah, blah, blah. On 74 separate occasions, her session consisted of watching the nuke for 30 seconds or more with no commentary whatsoever. As in, I would play the nuke and let him speak for 30 seconds and then respond to what he said. I believe that the best way to let him explain his points would be to let him speak for some period of time, let him fully explain his point, and then respond to it rather than like pausing every 2 seconds and then making it hard to understand what he's trying to say. I wanted him to be able to explain his points to the best of his ability, and I would wait so that I can see, oh, well, maybe he's going to tie this into this. Oh, maybe he's going to explain why he brought up Crimea. Well, maybe he's going to do this. Like, it's to allow him to make the points fully in their entirety instead of like in the middle of a sentence before he's even gotten a chance to make the point, pausing and being like, this is all stupid. I can't believe this. I wanted to hear the points that he had to say. And then he lists all of the sections where I allowed the video to play for like, here's me allowing the video to play for a minute. Here's me allowing the video to play for a minute and a half before pausing. Here I am letting the video play for 40 seconds before I pause again. So like I'll pause at 50 or I'll unpause at 5:04 and then I let the video play for another 30 seconds and then I pause after 30 seconds. And I'm like, yeah, so I don't understand why you would say this. This doesn't make any sense. This part doesn't make any sense. Blah, blah. That's what, and I think the largest amount of time that I let the video play, according to his information, obviously I would have to check this myself, was 135 seconds. At one point in the video, I allowed the video to play for 135 seconds uninterrupted. So I let him play for about 2 minutes. So he spoke for 2 minutes and then I paused. And I believe, according to his information, oh, wait, 139 seconds is the most. Apologies. Again, I don't know this for sure because I would have to go and check it and do the numbers myself, assuming that he didn't make any mistakes and that these numbers are all accurate. That's what I was, what's that, a pee break? No, I didn't get up at all. During the content nuke, I peed before the content nuke. And then the entirety of the content nuke, I sat there. So all of this was me pausing to talk or me pausing to go like, why would you put this in this video or something like that? So I allowed the video to play at the most for 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes.
Ethan Wild for this clearly frivolous lawsuit.
All right. How do I donate to the lawsuit? This is if you scan this QR code, it'll work and it should take you directly to the GoFundMe. Excuse me. Do I have to eat more tomatoes? What were we at? I've lost track of the tomatoes, guys. The marbles are gone, people. I have another box of tomatoes, but I'm also almost out of tomatoes. Ew, I just burped and I just tasted the tomatoes. Ew. All right. Also, some of these are like typos. I think 351 to 343. I went backwards, dude. I backwards reacted. I went in reverse. I let the video play like in reverse for an uninterrupted 105 seconds. Which is why I said, you know, assuming that there are no mistakes here, it's plausible that there might be mistakes in here. Okay. Time traveling witch denim. All right. 10 divided by 10. Guys, he's an English major, not a math major. Leave him alone. You guys are being rude. Okay, and then continuing. Then he speaks on what my goal was. Then he speaks on what he believes I wanted to do, right? So like he puts this quote in here, if I sat here and explained why I was wrong for half these things, we'd be here for another 20 hours, which the funny thing about this is that Hassan reacted to it and he tried to go in and react and respond and discredit every single statement. And it took him, I think he got through half of it and it took him 10 hours to get through half of it. So it actually probably would have taken me 20 hours. Like, no meme. Wait, I was correct. I would have been there for 20 hours, actually. Wait. Yeah, so. All right. Also, this is, I don't know why this isn't here either. I don't understand what to say because yeah, this is wrong because of this, another wrong take. Okay, another wrong take. And then I just pause it for 10 minutes and I feel bad pausing it again because surely there'll be something better in here, which I don't know why I mean, I guess so that it's not disingenuous or so that it's not misleading, but he put this in here. I feel bad pausing it again because surely there'll be something better here. Like this explains exactly why I didn't want to pause on every single incorrect statement, right? And it's because I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and I didn't want to nitpick at the things that weren't important, like the Crimea thing, like the Tibet thing, like the Uyghur thing. And so I'm like, I don't want to sit here and pause and like, you know, overly pause on every, like literally it would have been every 2 seconds. Because I want to hear his actual commentary and his actual criticisms of Hassan, which at the time I believed, you know, possibly could be valuable. So I don't know why this is in here. Thank you for finding this, Ethan. Okay. All right. You actually believe that? I mean, I always believe that when I'm watching videos from people that I disagree with. Anytime I disagree with someone, I don't want to be so overly critical and they're about to make a point that I actually might agree with, because then I'm priming you guys to assume that everything that person says is going to be incorrect. And it's a much more fair way to engage and say like, okay, well, maybe there's going to be something after this that will help link these points together, right? It's just a way to react to things and be able to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? That's it. All right. Best comment on the bad empanada video, case dismissed. There's nothing intellectual about this property. That's not how intellectual property works. That's not what intellectual property means. Okay. All right. Okay. This is now we can finally get to the fun stuff. All right. A lot of this stuff is pretty fun. All right. Denims fails to address the majority of the Twitch parody sketch. Denim fails to address the points raised in the Houthi section of the Nuke. Ethan's criticism of the Houthi atrocities, namely recruiting child soldiers, shelling and blocking aid to civilians, ruining agricultural land, oppression of women and slavery, including how this contradicts leftist values, which, like, the reason why this isn't relevant to the conversation about Israel-Palestine is because oppression of women doesn't magically make it okay to start bombing those countries. Guess what? We oppress women here in the United States. We repealed Roe v. Wade. Does that mean you get to just start nuking the United States? Of course not. The Houthis' activities are brought up to obfuscate from the terrible behavior of Israel. Because if you can just say, well, what if you were gay in Gaza? You don't actually have to talk about the terrible things that Israel's done. And again, it doesn't, like, the people talking about Iran and being like, Iran is actually the bad guy. They're actually the bad guys here. It's like, wait, it doesn't matter if the Iranian people dislike their government. It doesn't matter if the Iranian government is regressive. And it doesn't matter if the Iranian government should be overthrown. It doesn't mean that you can suddenly start bombing all of Iran and killing countless civilians. None of that suddenly makes that okay. And you're not saving the people of Iran by killing them. I'm sorry. There have been more nukes, or not nukes, excuse me, nuclear facilities that have been destroyed, most recently by the United States. But a bunch of the buildings that were destroyed in order to get some of the high-ranking officials in Iran killed civilians, 20, 30, 40 civilians and children. To say, I'm freeing them, why don't you go tell those people, the people who died in these strikes, that you freed them from the regime? Why don't you tell their family members, hey, I just want you to know I saved your child from the regime by killing them? Like, how soulless do you have to be to think that because a regime is oppressive, you can suddenly start bombing that nation as much as you'd like? You won't be able to have a solution to an oppressive regime without it being led by the people in that nation. The people in that nation need to decide what they want. Like, they've killed over 1,000 civilians at this point, I believe, in Iran. The last number that I saw, I think, was 200. So, yeah. Sorry, one thing. 30 people to save a nuclear war. I just want you to know you are using the exact same reasoning. Sorry, this chat message doesn't. No, it's showing it. Wait, no, didn't show up. One sec. You're using the exact same reasoning that Americans used for bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And if you can sleep well knowing that, that's fine with me. But personally, I don't know how you could sleep thinking this. Alrighty. And let's continue, shall we? All right. Denim fails to address the point. This entire section is just Denims fails to address all of the wonderful things in my nuke. She fails to address the points raised in the Hamas section. She fails to address the points raised in the Twitch section of the nuke. Klein's ineffectiveness as a CEO in forcing Twitch employees to participate. He didn't force anyone. And Hassan's happy birthday video. Hassan's criticisms of Frogan's purity test of Ludwig and how Twitch props up Frogan. Also, I don't know why he's saying that I failed to address this. I've talked about this before, and I said that I don't think it was a good idea, and I disagreed with Frogan's decision in that moment to say, quote, this is cracker behavior, end quote. Frogan saying that to Ludwig about donating money and then telling his audience, it doesn't matter if you donate money or not, I'm not going to tell you to do it. I always criticized her for that, and I thought that that was bad because anyone that's doing any type of fundraising at all, personally or otherwise, they should be rewarded. I also disagreed with him saying, oh, you don't have to, I get it. Some people don't like politics or whatever. I disagree with that. I think you should tell people, you know, you should donate if you have the money, or if you can or whatever. But I disagreed with her at the time, calling it a quote, cracker ass take, end quote. I thought it was irresponsible, and I called it out at the time, and I called it out later, and all that other stuff. So I was scrubbing through your reaction earlier, and you literally said this during this. So why is this in here? There's a lot of things that are in here that's like fails to address, and I did address them. Clancy banning people asking about anti-Semitism during the Q&A session. That's not what he was doing. He's banning, I saw the clip, and anyone who's done any live streaming knows what this is like. When someone comes in and they say like, hey, I just had a genuine question. Could you help me out? And the next question is like, why do you suck so much penis? And you're the worst person in the world. And I think that you should, redacted. And it's like, he banned a just curious chatter. Like, that's what he banned. It's an irresponsible take, but it's an understandable take, not constructive, but understandable. Yeah, and that's what I said at the time. Like, I understand how, you know, especially if you're Lebanese and you see what Israel's doing, and what Israel has done to Lebanon, what they've done to Gaza, what they've done to Palestine, what they've done to Iran, what they've done to all these nations. But especially if you are from one of these nations that's had to deal with Israeli aggression. And then you see someone say like, oh, like, you don't have to donate if you will want to. It's not that important or whatever. I can see feeling like frustrated with that and feeling like, oh, this is a clear example of like white privilege. This is just not an issue that you have to care about because you don't know anyone in that region and it's not personal for you, right? But also it is irresponsible to say C-word take, right? And I disagreed that she should have said that. So, all right. Moving on. Denims even mocks the Nuke for making a fair use of third-party clips by stating, isn't it weird that a lot of these clips are like 5 seconds short? Not 5 seconds long, 5 seconds short. I said that. That's kind of, that's kind of cunting. I was eating with that one.
Denims, can I be
And
your
also this
sofa?
is, by the way, this is so disingenuous. Like he's being completely disingenuous by saying this. I'm talking about clip chimping, like the clip of Hassan saying, quote, it doesn't matter if rapes happen, end quote, which gets played over and over and over again. And the full quote is, it doesn't magically make, well, sorry, I'm paraphrasing. It doesn't make me change my mind on genocide. If the paramilitary organization committed rapes or assault, it doesn't magically make me okay with genocide, which is a fair statement. Like, that's completely fair. There shouldn't be an amount of crimes that one small subset of a population commits that should magically make it okay to genocide those people. In the same way that, like, it doesn't matter that straight white men commit the majority of shootings. You're not allowed to, and you shouldn't be allowed to decide to genocide white men. Like, that doesn't magically make this extreme action acceptable and okay. Because nothing can justify genocide. Nothing. There's no amount of bad actions from bad actors in that group that can justify genociding the entirety of that group. And so when I was saying this, I was saying, isn't it crazy that every single one of these clips is clip chimped? I wasn't saying, I wasn't mocking it for fair use. Don't be ridiculous. All right. All right. This statement reveals Denim's complete and total ignorance of fair use. All right, continuing. And then he lists all the times that I spoke, says that it's not related or something. This section is also funny. She spends, also, we're really close. I'm gonna skip, like, I only have these 2 tomatoes. I'm gonna skip these 2 tomatoes because I don't want to get heartburn. We're like 200 away from raising 5K in this stream. So it's about time for the big tomato. So I'm getting salt for this one. Where's my salt shaker? Might have to get up and get my salt shaker. And I also have a little bit of hummus. Don't forget to condemn. All right, this part is pretty good. The big kahuna. All right. Denim spends time discussing unrelated or minimally related topics such as an unrelated meme, referencing the length of the nuke, announcing a raid, attacking a chatter who critiques her, claiming she is going insane. That she wants to play the video game Marvel Rivals. Her cat. Pokey speaks fake Arabic. Why is this in here? What is fake Arabic? Moroccan is fake Arabic. It's the Arabic that doesn't make any sense to anyone else who speaks Arabic. That's what fake Arabic is, because half of it is fucking French, dude. All right. Making crass jokes about Ben Shapiro and his love life. Was this me making a wet-ass B-word joke? Okay, Denims frequently makes superficial comments with no elaboration, such as, the nuke resembles a high school project or a middle school project, narrating what is depicted. That Ethan is so brave, that Ethan's
Denims,
performance
can I be your tomato?
resembles someone on the first day of acting class, that she is going to die of cringe and begs it to end. That Ethan is crashing out, complaining about the editing, that the video treats the audience as morons and is trying to trick them, that Ethan is putting out garbage, complimenting her own outfit, and excitement that a particular clip of her is shown in the nuke. This is so absurd to me because like Ethan Klein has been making React content that's been like comedy React content, by the way, where he has reacted to people and a lot of his reactions have been just making fun of the people making the videos, right? Because you're trying to make your audience laugh. That has been Ethan Klein. That's been Ethan Klein's goal with a lot of his content. And that's why when he does React content, a lot of the time the comments are superficial because your primary goal is to, like, one of the primary goals is to try and make your audience laugh. That is, and he's argued that that was fair use, that making React content, even if you don't address every single point made, React content can be transformative if you're spending the time making fun of them or mocking them or making jokes at them and trying to produce something comedic, right? And that's what I'm doing here by saying, like, I'm going to die of cringe and begs it to end. His performance resembles someone on the first day of acting class. If this was transformative, it was fair use. If a court deems that this was transformative, then that was fair use. Guys, can you get a new talking point? I get that you don't have your own, like, thoughts and everything, and I get that you need somebody else to tell you what to think, but can you please, like, can you please come up with a new talking point? Shouldn't you be raising money for Palestine or Iran? This is selfish of you right now, isn't it? Shouldn't Ethan Klein be spending his money on Iran and Palestine since he cares so much about being pro-Palestinian instead of proceeding with an unnecessary lawsuit? Please get a new talking point. The bait is so stale. It's so stale. Please. All right. And then continuing, this is pretty funny too. Since she did not pre-screen, she frequently expresses confusion. Since Denims did not pre-screen, she frequently makes comments that are later contradicted. If her primary purpose was to comment on the nuke, she could have easily avoided these embarrassing moments by watching the nuke beforehand. What does this have to do with fair use? In the section about Hassan's apologia of China's genocide and enslavement of the Uyghurs, she claims that Ethan fails to point out how Hassan was wrong. Shortly after making these comments, the nuke provides evidence that provides the evidence that Denims claims was absent. After seeing this evidence, Denims just expresses confusion. No, wrong. What happens is that he claims that it's a genocide, when in reality, and this is coming from the guy who's for the longest time been with the crowd of people that say, well, we shouldn't call things genocide, and it's a very severe word for severe things. and we should only describe actual genocide as genocide. And from my understanding, the UN, and I believe the Amnesty International has claimed that what China has done has been war crimes and has treated the Uyghur people unethically, but not that there has been a genocide. That's currently what the documentation seems to suggest. And he also, he procures this like document or like this article that doesn't have a headline that I believe Badamnata has a good video on it. But it's like, it's since had updates to it. And the documentation on that particular topic has since changed. So the evidence that he shows it's not like, it doesn't prove the point that he's trying to make. All right. Didn't Ethan brag about watching the content cop without screening it beforehand? Like that made him a legend or something? Yeah, and then he like immediately said, dude, that Donnie or whatever, that's a real friendship thing. That was bad. All right. And then this part as well, in the section just discussing the type of fans Hassan attracts, such as online creator Dating and Money. Denim claims that Dating and Money is not a Hassan fan, but a fan of another streamer. Immediately making this comment, the Nuke shows a clip of Dating and Money meeting Hassan and effusively praising him, except the Nuke fails to produce the clip of him not reacting at all to the fact that Hassan is not, this guy is not a super fan of Hassan. Hassan is not this guy's hero, and he didn't even recognize who Hassan was 15 minutes earlier in the VOD. Like, the clip is out there. And I don't know about, like, misrepresenting this in front of, like, a judge, because this is a misrepresentation. The guy was not a fan of Hassan. He was pretending to be a super fan for clout, which is what, it should be blatantly obvious. I pointed out the fact that the guy had particular mannerisms that I would associate with a Sneeko super fan. Not true. Okay, NPC77, don't ban this guy, chat. Or sorry, mods. I'm really curious if you'll change your mind. I've shown this clip so many times at this point, but, like, maybe one more time just for the road. Just one more time for the road. Let's go. Sure, why not?
Dating and then at Dating and 30. Yeah. Dude, guys, my YouTube channel.
And like, how could she sit there so stupid and smug? Oh
Like,
my
just
God.
Again, Ethan is lying. His proof isn't proof at all. The first time this guy shows up during this stream, it happens 15 minutes earlier when he meets Hassan's crew. Notice he doesn't react when they say they're going to find Hassan.
Right now. What are you guys doing? What kind of content?
We're just streaming. It's live streaming.
Oh, live streaming?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm just like, I'm a content creator too, bro.
Sure.
I do content.
Sick.
So you're just literally live right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
How many viewers?
A couple.
A few.
Few?
Yeah.
What, 30?
Probably more than 30.
Really?
Yeah, I would say more than 30. Yeah.
Dude, guys, my YouTube channel is at Dating and Money. Please subscribe. At Dating and Money. I talk about Palestine
Dating
on
and
there.
Money?
Yeah.
Dating and Money?
I talk about Palestine on there.
Okay, hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to find his son.
Okay.
Oh, he just said, I'm going to go find Hassan. And again, this guy claims that Hassan is his hero. Okay? This guy claims Hassan is his hero. And still hasn't recognized Lolo and hasn't recognized March. And they just said, we're going to go find Hassan. I'm sure he'll react now.
Where is this guy?
Where'd he go? Yeah.
Well, yeah, just type in at and then Dating and Money, guys.
Just listen, chat. Do not fucking go. Do not Dating and Money. Chat.
No matter how many times I watch that clip, it's still funny. Surely you'll change your mind now, right? NPC777. I haven't reacted to any chatter, so you're kind of getting like put on a pedestal, so you have to respond. And I will keep your chat message on the screen, so. All right. Continuing. Then there's just more of this stuff that like he is misrepresenting and pretending like it's the cell phone because it's the thing that he feels like has stuck the hardest. I mean, this is like Meatball Ron or whatever, or The Sanctimonious or Lion Ted or whatever. That's what Ethan Klein is doing here. But that's also why I'm saying this document isn't meant for a court. This document is meant for internet court. That's why this stuff is in here. All right. And then this is also, I don't know why this is like, sorry, 1 second. One stun lock for today. That clip meant absolutely nothing. So if someone was your hero and you found out that other people were live streaming and then they said like, Sabrina Carpenter is coming and Sabrina Carpenter is your hero, you wouldn't react at all. You'd be like, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Really? That doesn't sound like that person is your hero. You're coping if you think that. I'm sorry. Yeah, he Googled Hassan and then came back. Exactly. All right. But then there's other stuff in here that also doesn't make any sense at all. Like in the section discussing Nasrallah, Denims claimed the difference between Ethan and Hassan is that Ethan praised former Israeli Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, which is false, which I later said was false. And I said, by the way, it wasn't him. It was his wife that said it. It was Ethan Klein that said it, and he approved of that statement. And Hassan never praised Hassan never praised Nasrallah immediately after the claim. She plays the excerpt of the Nuke where Hassan praises Nasrallah. No, I said Hassan never called Nasrallah a good guy. And then the clip plays of him saying, reading a chat message that says something about Hassan Nasrallah being based. And he reads the chat message and then explains, you think that he's based because he's saying the right things about U.S. imperialism because these people are way more well-read and educated than you might think that they are, than mainstream media might let on to believe. It doesn't mean that he's a good guy. It just means that he's capable of formulating the correct criticisms of Western nations. As opposed to, I don't know where it is, but there's a clip later of, or there's a section later where Ethan Klein says, all Ethan Klein said was that Yoav Gallant was a moderating voice. Which I don't understand why that's in there either, by the way. I'll pull it up later. And then me, admittedly, getting this incorrect. But like, do you see how this has nothing to do with fair use? When Ethan cites the ban of Destiny as an example of Twitch's inconsistent enforcement of guidelines, Denim claims that the ban was due to Destiny's statement condoning Kyle Rittenhouse's killing protesters, only to realize that the ban was due to Destiny calling Keffel's inbred, which this doesn't make it magically fair use or not fair use, right? I was incorrect about this. This is true. I think he got a temp ban for the Kyle Rittenhouse comments, but I'm pretty sure that the actual final strike was the Keffel's comment. All right. And then this is good too. After Ethan's critique of Hassan's apology, Denims goes on a nonsensical tangent about the Chinese credit score system. Like even just the sentence, just listen, let me read the sentence again, sorry. After Ethan's critique of Hassan's apologia of Chinese imperialism and authoritarianism, Denims goes on a nonsensical tangent about the Chinese credit score system, which was not discussed or referenced. It's almost like I was making it transformative by bringing up something that wasn't mentioned in that document or in that video. If you talk about Chinese imperialism and authoritarianism or people's perception of Chinese imperialism or authoritarianism, it makes sense to discuss and to dispel some of the notions about the Chinese credit score system and to talk about the idea that the Chinese credit score system is much more similar to your normal credit score. And it's a social credit score system. I think he forgot to add that word. If you're talking about authoritarianism in China, it makes sense to then segue into a conversation about the Chinese credit score system, social credit system, and how our understanding of it is incorrect. So like, this is an example of peak transformativeness, that like I'm watching and I'm adding new things that aren't in that video that are relevant to that video. I know you think that this is like an epic own or whatever. Why did you skip number 5? Why did you pass over number 5? And what's number 5? In the section discussing systematic use on October 7th, repeatedly denies. I did not repeatedly deny. This did not happen. She is immediately confronted with headlines from news organizations, victim testimony, and UN report refuting her denials. Incorrect. He included a video of Almag Goldstein, who talks about how she had witnessed other people telling her that they were assaulted, which was a story that was changed and originally stated that no sexual assault happened and the men never touched her. And they never touched anyone else there because they viewed them as sacred. That was her wording. That's not my wording. That was what that woman said. It's verbatim. You can go find I made a video on the entire thing. Like it's
Denim's unrivaled giant.
It's right here. Most replayed. Here it is. It's literally right here. Where this is what that woman says. Why the towel? Because it's forbidden for them to touch
He's
us.
trying to wave his magic money wand to discredit anything transformative, to then claim copyright over fair use. He's a silly goose.
For them, women are sacred. This is the woman who later stated in Ethan Klein's documentary, in his tragic comic documentary, he claims that, and in the podcast later, he claimed that she was, quote, continually for 50 days. Meanwhile, this was the woman that he included in the documentary. Here, I get it. Like, if you have any desire at all to open your eyes and recognize that maybe this is not as partial as you seem to think it is, I would love to show you. Here.
Or saw it. What's the problem, fucking bitch? Did you not hear what they said? You respect women? Why are you calling them liars? How fucking cool is that? Say something. You just said you believe victims, but here's a victim right now, a woman telling you this happened, and you're smiling? How do you disprove firsthand testimony? She goes, I wouldn't believe it unless it was firsthand. Here's a 17-year-old whose family was murdered in front of her, and she was kidnapped for 50 days and continually while being in captivity.
Did you hear that? Let's play it again. He's talking about the woman on the screen, Almag Goldstein.
Firsthand testimony. She goes, I wouldn't believe it unless it was firsthand. Here's a 17-year-old whose family was murdered in front of her, and she was kidnapped for 50 days and continually while being in captivity. Nothing to say? Nothing? You're not going to fucking acknowledge what just happened?
I will acknowledge what just happened. This woman who you claimed was continually in captivity did not claim to have been raped. In fact, when she was released from captivity, she had this to say. And then she says this comment about they didn't touch them because it's forbidden for them to touch us. And then later, her original statement, or not original statement, the statement that he included in the video was this one. Accounts of being sexually assaulted in captivity.
כל פעם שפגשתי מישהו היה לפחות מישהי או מישהו אחד שחוו התעללות מינית.
This is straight from his documentary, which is this woman saying that she heard from other people that they said that they were sexually abused. Same shirt. Fuck. Same shirt. God damn it. And guess what? In my video where I respond, guess what? And I know you never watched this video, chatter, and I know you have no interest in watching this video, chatter, but look, I've said countless times that in any military, paramilitary, or terrorist attack, there will unfortunately be sexual abuse. American troops have been found guilty of this countless times over the past few decades. I have to believe that there was sexual abuse on October 7th. I will also always believe victims who come forward to talk about their sexual abuse. I stand by that. Whoa, that's so crazy that this is just incorrect. That this is just a misrepresentation. I just played the clip for you, so I'm sure you can respond, chatter. So do you think that there wasn't any happening on October 7th? I just want clarification. I mean, this is a video from me talking about this on 4 months ago on February 7th. I've had this position long before February 7th. I still hold this position, and I plan to hold this position forever. Denims, why did you completely refute number 5 months ago? I just want you to know, chatter, Sly, R6, you don't have to like me. I don't care. I got over people liking me in middle school.
Denims is streaming.
When that terrible person, Elizabeth, okay, bullied the shit out of me. And I was like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I don't care, actually. I don't care how many people like me. I will get over this. I will not allow myself to get girl bullied for the rest of my life. You know what? People are not going to like me. I don't care. As long as I'm doing things that I wouldn't, as long as I follow the golden rule, that's what I care the most about. But you don't have to like me to see very plainly and clearly that Ethan Klein is misrepresenting the situation to pretend like me or anyone else is pro, which is fucking crazy, by the way. And this is the position that I've had on February 7th when I made this video, and it's the same position I hold now, and it's the position I've had before February 7th. All right. Last thing, and then we're moving on. I'm not going to read any more chat messages after this because I want to get through this document as quickly as I can because I do want to get to some of the coverage of the Iran stuff. So would you agree that Hamas is a pretty bad group in general? I call them a terrorist organization. What more do you want? And why the goalposting? Why not just be like, oh, I don't know why I thought that you thought that. Or I don't know why Ethan Klein is writing this when you have a video of you saying the complete opposite. Why not own up to a position? It's just lame behavior. I'm sorry. It's just lame.
Do you owe XQC an apology for believing Adapter Whale, who some call the original October 7th false victim?
Sorry, I missed that. I missed that totally and entirely. No, Lemon Pepper. That comment was about the Houthis being recognized as a terrorist organization by the United States. I've called Hamas a terrorist organization. Not relevant or not at all related to any documentation or whatever by the United States or any labeling by the U.S.
No Twitch baby because of hummus condom DNM sad smixel sag.
Oh, this chatter. You're donating $10 after I banned you? That's kind of cringe, dude. So do you owe XQC an apology for believing Adapter Whale who called some original October 7th false victim? So I can tell that you're mentally unwell, which is why you've donated $30, $40, $50, $60. Oh my God. And I haven't even noticed you until this last one. It took $60. I don't know why people think this. Here, I will explain the XQC lore one last time, okay? I'm someone who likes to laugh at my pain in the same way that I think other people should be able to laugh at their pain. I went online and I defended XQC in his lawsuit. And I don't know if it was technically to be considered a lawsuit, but in his false divorce proceedings, because she was arguing that they could be considered legally married because they live together and all this other stuff, whatever. But I defended him because I said, it seems like it's the opposite of the Milena situation where she didn't cooperate, or not cooperate, that's the wrong word, but she didn't substantially add to the value of XQC's stream in a way that, like, I think Milena has in NMP's stream. And so, no, she's probably not entitled to these finances, right? Unless she did, and if she can prove it, then I would agree with her. Then I would say that she was entitled. But unless she can prove that she was entitled to that amount because she helped organize some cool streams, or that she helped in this way, or that she, whatever way that would make it substantially additive, right? And that's what I've said since the fucking event. My mistake was thinking that XQC can take a joke. And so I was like, how's the divorce going? And he got really offended. After I defended him publicly, like I'm on his side. I just wanted to make a joke. I don't know why these fucking soy losers are so soy. I just don't get it. I don't get why XQC was being so soy about it. I can take a joke like that. Dude, I would hope, Chad, if I'm ever in a divorce filing, please make jokes about it. Please, for the love of God. Oh my God, dude. I never want to be that soy. Christ. Oh my God, Christ. But anyways, all right. Also, it has nothing to do with sexual assault victims. Adept has nothing to do with that. All right. Let's continue. Let's continue. Credit score system, yes. All right. Head mod, blah, blah, blah. A lot of this stuff is also, a lot of this stuff is really boring and like not, again, also not relevant. Why hasn't XQC donated? His livelihood depends on this lawsuit. I'm not joking. I'm not even joking, chat. This is like, this lawsuit is so important for people like XQC and Asmongold. But I'd like to get vindicated. All right. Let me see. This one. Denims claims Ethan uses clips out of context, that she never shows or explains the omitted context. Wrong. I mean, one such example is the comment about what justifies a genocide. Nothing. Nothing justifies genocide. Also, it's time for the fucking tomato apple. Oh, but I don't want to eat it. Oh,
I regret to inform you that a second large tomato has hit the timeline.
No, this is the first large tomato has hit the timeline. Oh, I don't want to. Okay, I have some hummus, which maybe it'll make it. Maybe I can just like put some hummus. Oh, now it looks gross. I put a little hummus on it and kind of looks gross now. Let me wipe it off. Maybe I'll have a spoon of hummus. I'll have like a chaser.
Hello, hi Asmon, this is X. Someone told me if Denims lose it becomes a president. How does a lawsuit become a president? Call me back.
Denims is streaming.
Clone sister, thank you for the 5. Afro, thank you for the 5. I'm getting brutalized, dude. This tomato's beating my ass. This Taylor Lorenz tweet's pretty good. I guess H3 Productions, Ethan Klein posting on his Instagram story as per usual. Taylor, it doesn't matter how hard you death to America, comma, Hassan just isn't into you. And he's screenshotting a tweet from Taylor Lorenz saying whatever bad stuff happens to America because of this stuff, We deserve it. And stay away from my kids in Roblox, weirdo, is what he said. Sorry. Taylor says a girl can't even say she hopes to witness the death of Western imperialism anymore without being accused of doing it for a man. It's a pretty good tweet. All right. There's still half the tomato. I need something to help power me through.
Please stop. Save yourself. Seeing you eat this tomato is making me physically ill, LMAO. This is like watching Denether eat tomatoes.
You just gave me an idea.
We got a #1 victory royale. Yeah, Fortnite, we about to get down. Get down. 10 kills on
If I eat it really
Fortnite now.
fast.
Just wiped out Tomato Town. My friend just gone down. I revived him. Now we're heading southbound. Now we're in the Pleasant Park streets. Look at the map. Go to the marked sheet. Take me to your Xbox to play Fortnite today.
My lawyer
You
can't do
can take
fucking
me
shit.
but not Loot Lake. I really love to chug jug with you. We can be pro Fortnite gamers.
Okay.
He said, hey broski, you got some heals in the shield pot? I need healing and I am only at 1 HP. Hey dude, sorry, I found nothing on this safari. I checked the upstairs of that house, but not the underneath yet. There's a chest that's just down there. The storm is coming fast and you need heals to prepare. I've got V-Bucks that I'll spend, more than you can contend. I'm a cool pro Fortnite gamer. Cool pro Fortnite. Take me to your Xbox to play Fortnite today. You can take me Moisty Mire, but not Loot Lake. I really love to chug jug with you. We can be pro Fortnite gamers. La 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 yeah. La.
I have time before I have to finish this. Okay, I'm gonna eat the rest of it in a sec. I just need a break. It's just so brutal. Oh God, it's just so brutal.
This content sucks respectfully.
Well, I guess 6,000 people disagree with you, loser. Okay, all right, enough. Contraman, thank you for the 10 gift subs, by the way. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna finish it. I'm not doing any more cherry tomatoes for a little bit. Okay, I'm sorry. I need a break. I need a break from the tomatoes. I need a break. Listen, I'm taking a small tomato break.
You are our strongest soldier versus the moles seizing our brains.
I'm not. I'll tell you guys when the break is over. Okay. Maybe at like 27K, I'll pick up the tomatoes again because I need a break from it. You've never had good tomatoes? No, the problem is that like it's a texture issue. It's not a flavor issue. And you can't fundamentally change the texture of a tomato. It's gonna have the the gross, like goopy seed texture, and it's gonna have the weird, like bordering on grainy tomato texture. All right. And that's just like Denims at 27K. Oh God. That's amazing. All right. Oh God. All right. All right. Enough of that. Enough of that. We're almost done. We're on page 63. Ah, here it is. Denims repeatedly claims Ethan praised Israel's former prime minister, or sorry, minister of defense, Gallant. And then this part was bizarre. I don't know why this is in here. Ethan clarified, stating he was a moderating voice in the war. Sorry, in the war room. Uh-huh. All right. Okay. Yes. That is very clearly you not praising Gallant. All right. Continuing. Moving on, Gallant, and then this also, there's so many things in here that like I'm in awe that they're in here. Denims claims that propaganda does not require lying. The Oxford Dictionary disagrees and defines propaganda as the systematic dissemination of information, especially in a biased or misleading way. The especially there means not always, in order to promote a particular cause or point of view. The definition that you posted, Ethan, disagrees with you. The definition that you posted agrees with me, that you don't have to lie to be a propagandist. This is the guy who frequently says that I'm self-owning, and this is the document that he's poured his love, sweat, and tears into for the past month, 2 months, 3, 4. Like, why wouldn't you remove this? This doesn't make sense to include. It makes more sense to remove this once you realize that the Oxford English Dictionary says that it doesn't have to be biased or misleading, that you just have to provide this information to people to promote your cause. And that can be enough for propaganda. That's why Hassan calls himself a propagandist. Propaganda, like, here's a great, maybe not a great example, but here's an example. Are there blonde women in Israel? Yeah, of course there are. Currently, right now, it is factually true that there are blonde women in Israel and that there are beautiful women in Israel. By creating a poster with beautiful women that say, like, come to Israel and find your true match or whatever, that is a propaganda piece. It doesn't mean that there are no beautiful women in Israel. It's a propaganda piece to try and promote something. It doesn't have to be lying. It doesn't have to be misleading to be propaganda. Just like, anyways, moving on. No, you should come to Brazil. And then it's like the dancing alien. All right. And then this one also, Denims repeatedly makes the misleading claim that Ethan performed a Nazi salute. Denims intentionally admits the fact that Ethan was making fun of Elon Musk performing a Nazi salute at the President Trump's inauguration. If you're making fun of it by doing it, you still did the Nazi salute. If you physically moved your hand in the way that Elon Musk did, as a way to parody or make fun of him, you still did it. That would be like saying the epic rap battle guy didn't dress up and pretend to be Hitler because he was joking when he did it. He still did it, and it was still comedy. And I think everyone looks at that and will say, this is very clearly a satirical piece, but he still did dress up as Hitler. You can't take that away from him. He did, one of those guys did dress up as Hitler, you know? Okay, Ethan refutes Hassan's contentions about why the Houthis hijacked this, claims that half of what Ethan showed is false without identifying falsehoods, let alone demonstrating how they were false. This is a video I reacted to. ages ago. I don't know. I'm pretty sure at this point in the video, I'm where I am right now in this reading this lawsuit, where I was so exhausted, where I was like, this isn't true. And I'm not going to pull up every single source for every single one of these things, because again, then we'll be here for 20 hours. All right. Continuing. All right. And then designated as a terrorist organization after Hassan's stream. By the US, they were designated as a terrorist organization after Hassan's stream, which is, I'm pretty sure what I'm talking about here, which is what he describes here. President, let's see, prior to February 2021, Houthis were designated as specially designated global terrorist, foreign terrorist organization. They delisted both January 17th, day after he redesignated them as, yeah, so the problem is that this isn't relevant to whether, like, all of these things are not relevant to whether or not this is fair use. Being wrong about something doesn't make your content fair use. If you say that someone has never swam or something in a video about fucking, I don't know, a content nuke, that doesn't suddenly make that not fair use. This is not like, this is, again, and I really want to stress this, most of this document was meant to be public facing. Most of this document was meant to be shown to the public because he feels like a lot of people didn't respect his content nuke enough. So he thinks that rehashing it here would be a good idea. Because a lot of the stuff that's in here doesn't make sense to be in here. All right. Continuing, there's, let me see. Continuing. There's another section. I want to show you guys the parts of it that I think are particularly funny. Like the part about Dan Clancy. Oh yeah, and then this one is in here too. I don't know why. Denims makes the completely unsubstantiated claim that, like Frogan and Hassan, Ethan has also made jokes about 9/11. That's not unsubstantiated. He has made jokes about 9/11. I saw they were posting it in Leftovers H3, like, and he has done it. I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm saying that morally grandstanding about Frogan making a cake for 9/11 and, like, making light of this event is obscene when you've made 9/11 jokes. Like, where do you get your moral high ground on this? I disagree that you're allowed to have moral high ground on making jokes about 9/11 if you've done it as well. Let me see if I can find it before this gets thrown in a lawsuit. She doubles down and says that I made these jokes and she doesn't have evidence of me making these jokes. Let me see. Is it this one? I wish I could find the original short. Hold up. It's on one of the fan channels. It's been re-uploaded. Ethan Klein compares. Oh, did you find it? Thank you.
You know what I was thinking? Friday's a lot like 9/11. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. It's because everybody remembers where they were. You know what I was thinking?
Like, unsubstantiated claim. Not that it's relevant, but it also wasn't a good joke. It wasn't that funny. So, like, I don't get where he gets the moral high ground to make jokes here. And I'm sure that's not the only one. I'm sure that there have been a couple. But I just don't care. I don't care about 9/11 jokes, and he doesn't care about 9/11 jokes. He's just pretending to care. Like, it's just, I can see people that do care. I've seen the veterans that care, that actually do get mad, but they get mad at all jokes about 9/11. All right. There are even threads and posts from a year ago in the H3 subreddit saying I can't take all these 9/11 jokes. Okay. Moving on. Moving on. And then this part as well is bizarre. This is I can't believe that this is in here. Denims, who is not Jewish, makes the grotesquely bigoted statement that it's anti-Semitic to associate Zionism with Judaism. The problem with this statement is that if you agree with me, I don't have to explain this position to you because you already understand what I mean and what I meant by saying this statement in the first place. And if you disagree with me, there's nothing I can say to convince you. I won't be able to. If you don't believe that, I don't have the words to say. I don't have the words in the special order to say this. And like this 90% of Jews are Zionist things. I need to set up all these links to have them in order and neatly available for when I need them, because I've shown these links over and over and over again. This is a very common misconception, and it's from and I did actually, I'm pretty sure I pulled it up on stream. I could be mistaken. Maybe I didn't pull it up on stream. I'm pretty sure maybe at this point I was a little bit more tired because this is at the 4.5 hour mark. It seems like you're saying you can't conflate the two, which is true. I mean, yeah. Yes. The reason why I say that it's anti-Semitic, or the reason why I say you shouldn't conflate the two, is because it's unfair to hold Jewish people accountable for everything that the state of Israel does. And the conflation is actually dangerous. And that's like, I mean, yeah, fucking, you can find like, and you don't have to be you don't have to be Jewish to know this, but if you will refuse to listen to anyone who isn't Jewish on this topic, I mean, Sam Cedar has explained this in much more detail than I have. Matt Lieb has talked about this in much more detail than I have. Like, there are plenty of Jewish people who are very educated on Zionism and very educated on the state of Israel, and they would be happy to talk about these issues in great detail. Okay. The other problem too is like he mentions these Pew Research polls from 2019 and 2020, but he fails to recognize that a lot of Jewish Americans have changed their minds on Israel since the response to October 7th, since the arrest warrant of Bibi and Gallant. A lot of American Jews, like the percentage of American Jews that are pro-Israel has gone way down since 2020. Because a lot of Jewish people have stated that, yeah, they want to have an ancestral homeland, or they want to have a place to feel safe, but not at the cost of hundreds of thousands of Palestinian lives, not at the cost of a genocide. And so, and there are really good documentaries about it as well, about how younger American Jewish people, which is the predominant group that is anti-Israel, have expressed that they don't believe that this genocide is justified, and so they cannot be pro-Israel. They just can't. And again, there's the documentary, Simone Zimmerman, I believe, is featured in it. And she's a pretty vocal anti-Israel Jewish voice. And she talked about basically her experiences going on Birthright Israelism. Yeah, I forget. I think it might. One of the documentaries also might be called like "Why Younger American Jews Are Turning Away from Israel" or something like that. It's being added to give the jury reason to dislike you or make this win more likely. No, I think that a lot of this stuff is just not relevant at all, and I don't think a court would find that it's relevant. And I don't think that. I think he wants people to settle. I think he wants me, Frogan, and Casey to settle, and he doesn't want this to get anywhere near like a actual legal proceedings. But anywho, yeah, that's neither here nor there. I have pulled up the stats from like 2024 and 2023 about Jewish, both protesters and just like American Jews in general, that have stated that they're very anti-Israel. And those rates are a lot higher. Being anti-Israel as an American Jew is a lot higher if you're younger, and if you're like under 30 than if you're like, I think, over 50 or 60. And the percentage of American Jews that find it to be essential or important to care about Israel has also gone way down since October 7th. Not specifically October 7th, but the counterattack by Israel after October 7th. So, yeah, this is the documentary. It's really, really good. Highly recommended. I believe we watched it in its entirety, and, you know, fair use reacted to it. But it's a very good documentary, and it talks about how their perspectives, these American Jewish people, their perspective changed so drastically because of either seeing Israel like on the ground or because of October 7th and the aftermath of October 7th. Anywho, moving on. So not only is there a bunch of stuff in here that like is incorrect, or stuff that like doesn't make sense to be in here. But yeah, it's half of this stuff is just irrelevant. Yeah. So it's a lawsuit about how it isn't fair use because it's not transformative, yet he attaches countless examples of it being transformative, but in ways he doesn't like. Well, that's because a lot of this, again, is supposed to be for the public. Like documents written exclusively only for court are going to be written differently than documents for the public. And this is for the public. All right. And then we have the conversation about Moroccan Jews. And he says this. Vichy France sent Moroccan Jews to Europe to be exterminated and not Israel. It refutes her assertion. Like this is... I like how he fails to include the part about how the Sultan tried his hardest to protect these people, but because of occupation, there was only so much that he could do to protect Moroccan Jews, and the rest of the population was apathetic towards the plight of Moroccan Jews. Like, this does not show that Moroccan Jews were exterminated because of anti-Semitism by Arabs. It shows that Europe, the country that, the continent that had the anti-Semitism problem that was so bad that they Holocausted Jews, was also responsible for the mass migration either to Israel or to be exterminated. Like, I don't... Clipped, yeah, sorry. I called Europe a country for a second, and I corrected myself immediately and said it was a continent. My apologies. All right. Moving on. This part. Denims makes the incendiary claim that Ethan is scared of Arabic and the Muzin call. She frantically tries to find a clip to support her assertion, but gives up. After someone censored the chat, after someone in her chat sends her a clip, she eagerly plays it. Dude, we've seen the clip. Like, I don't want to play it again, man. I don't want to play it again. This is not a legal argument about fair use. When it is evident her claim is a grossly inaccurate mischaracterization, her excitement evaporates as she silently moves on from the point. Did I want to watch this part of the VOD? Oh my God, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Everybody knows the clip that I'm talking about, where he's in, I believe in Israel, but maybe he was in the West Bank at that time. And the call to prayer made him respond in an inflammatory way as he attempted to make a joke at the expense of Muslim people. All right, during her group viewing session, Nuke takes up approximately 3/4. Oh, this is the part I was waiting for. Yes, finally, we're here. Oh my God, that took forever. During her group viewing session, the Nuke takes up approximately 3/4 of the screen for Denims' group viewing session, while Denims sequesters herself to the right-hand quarter to de-emphasize her presence. Denims' objective was to provide a large and unobstructed view of the Nuke to her audience, which further emphasizes her primary purpose was to provide a substitute for the original. And he also claims earlier that, like, e-girls specifically like to show off as much of themselves as possible. And that's a requirement for being an e-girl. So here he's saying I'm not an e-girl because I take up less than 1/4 of the screen. Oh, God, dude. I'm certified not an e-girl, guys, by Ethan Klein. By Ethan Klein. This part... You guys can take away from this what you want to take away from this, all right? I think this is one of those things that should be litigated in the court, and that's why I don't want to speak on it, but he goes on to say, to be certain, Denims makes, albeit infrequently and consistently, highly transformative use of the Nuke. It seeks to expose how Hassan radicalizes people online to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli. Denims uses the Nuke for the exact opposite purpose, to radicalize her audience to be anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli, which is like, this is an insane accusation against me. This is fucking like crazy. I'm in awe that he would put this in here, that he would make such an inflammatory accusation against me. And then he says transformative nature of these moments is undermined by showing far more of the Nuke than is necessary to achieve this purpose. But then he doesn't elaborate on that. These examples are supposed to show that I showed more than I needed to. That I showed too much. His purpose is to show that, his purpose with these points is to explain that I showed more than is necessary of the Nuke, but the things that he describes don't meet this criteria. He says, I repeatedly glorify terrorism and terrorists, which is not what happened. That I excuse homophobia. That's not what happened. I glorify Hamas propaganda. Not what happened. Excuse anti-Semitism and terrorism. Not what happened. Like the examples that he uses to show that I didn't need to show as much of the Nuke as possible don't make sense. Like, it's just comments trying to paint me as like anti-Semitic. Like this, Denims repeatedly attempts to justify her own anti-Semitism, or even more absurd, paint Ethan as an anti-Semite. In one instance, she goes on a long tangent by showing the entirety of a Norm Finkelstein clip with little commentary to justify her own bigotry. No, the clip that I show is the one where Norm Finkelstein talks about how his parents, who were very anti-German, weren't capable of making a distinction between the Germans and the Nazis, because as far as they were concerned, you were either complicit or you were a Nazi if you were in Germany. And I've shown that clip to explain the current positions of Israelis, where Israelis currently, when you ask them, how many of you think Israel has gone too far in the wake of October 7th? How many think Israel hasn't gone far enough? It's like less than 20%. It was like, no, wait, 30% think Israel has gone too far. And the other 70% think Israel should go farther, or that they haven't gone far enough. Which is the point that I'm bringing up by showing that Norm Finkelstein clip, saying that for a lot of people that are under these oppressive regimes, like the people in Gaza, the people who bomb them hate them. And they want them to be genocided. And when you and this is why I've said it's dangerous to conflate anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism, because when the state of Israel claims that it is for the Jewish people, what you are doing is allowing people who don't like the state of Israel, rightfully don't like the state of Israel after its ongoing genocide, you're allowing that state to conflate hating Israel with hating Jews, which is bad. Because what do you end up with? You end up with, I mean, you don't actually end up with Nazis. Nazis are Nazis because they're Nazis. But anywho, yeah, I can't believe that he's trying to argue that I'm anti-Semitic for showing a clip of Norm Finkelstein, a Jewish man, talking about how he doesn't care about X, Y, or Z because he's had the lived experience of being the kid of Jewish people who've had to deal with the Holocaust, right? So exactly, Luna, like it's dangerous to conflate Israel with Jewish people. It is dangerous. So anywho, but like this doesn't prove that I showed too much of the nuke. Do you guys see what I'm talking about here? Where I'm like, these points 1, 2, and 3 that he includes here, these don't prove that I showed far more of the nuke than is necessary to achieve this purpose. These are separate points that are irrelevant to this point. These are just attempts to critique me or portray me in a negative light. And then this one also, like, how does this statement prove that I watched too much of the nuke? Denims also carries water, carries spelled incorrectly, for Clancy. When Ethan critiques Clancy's obsession with e-girls on the platform, Denims seeks to excuse this lecherous behavior by making the tone-deaf claim that Clancy's obsession with e-girls is a sign of his virility. How does this prove that I showed more of the nuke than necessary? What, like the goal is to show that the nuke is bad? And so I do so by watching the entirety of the nuke and attempting to engage with it in its entirety. And then that was watching too much of it? Carries water is a legal term. He spelled carries C-A-R-I-E-S. You need 2 R's. I didn't say it didn't make sense what he said. I said there was a typo. No, that's the Australian spelling. Stop. Stop. Okay, and then the use is commercial. I'm not going to engage in this conversation at all. Because again, this is something I'd like to discuss. And I'd like to fight legally, not on Twitch. And then, let's see. And then we have the claims for relief, which I'm not going to get into it too deeply. And then that's about it. I love these chatters. Put the fries in the bag. I don't think you can even afford chicken nuggies. No one is putting any fries or chicken nuggies or tenders in your bag. Okay? You own like a piece of lint, a string, and a paper clip, buddy. When you say your lawyer has a case, do you mean in your favor? Yeah, that it's not, I mean, he's trying to, in my opinion, I believe that he's trying to scare a lot of creators, but mostly just me, Casey, and Frogan by saying that this is a open and shut case. But my legal team seems to think that it's not an open and shut case. So I want to take it to court if I can, or at the very least, as many steps as I can up till that point. So I have a really nice piece of lint. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. But yeah, that's it. That's about everything in there. That is the whole statement that's in there. again, these are just the relief claims, which is just like, here's what she did wrong, and they were alleging that she did these things that are wrong, and here's what we want. I will say one thing that is a little bit, I don't know if funny is the right word, but comedic, I don't know. This happened after we got banned for 30 days and like lost ad rev. So it's the person who caused financial damages is attempting to seek financial damages. Oh my God. Oh my God. But anywho, that's about it for that statement. I love these people. You should settle. Your legal team might want your cash, but you stated intent clearly, which is a death sentence in this case. Are you a lawyer? Because I'm going to be honest, I'm going to listen to my lawyers. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to listen to my lawyers.
The marbles are gone, people.
The marbles are gone. They're gone, people.
You are my best friend. You are the rent payer. You are the legend. Thank you, Ethan Klein. You are my best friend. You are the rent payer. You are the legend.